Some breaking news in the NFL tonight. The Los Angeles Chargers are releasing pass rusher Joey Bosa. The move now saves that franchise about $25 million, and now the question naturally becomes, will Joey Bosa sign with the 49ers in free agency, which begins on Monday, to team up with his brother Nick Bosa, now that he's set to be a free agent? Let's talk about it here. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. My name is Chase Sr., and as always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making tonight's show a part of your evening, or if you're waking up with me on a Thursday morning, thanks for tuning in as I'm recording this. It is prime time on this Wednesday, March 5th. So I'm sitting in the sauna, got done dinner, saw the notification on my phone from the Los Angeles Chargers that they have decided to release Joey Bosa, and right away I start to get questions from viewers, and people start to speculate. Is Joey Bosa going to sign with the 49ers? Ian Rapoport of the NFL Network already linking Joey Bosa to San Francisco, saying this on X, quote, "The Chargers star will have options. Joining his brother Nick in San Francisco is one of them, and his release saving the Chargers $25 million against the cap." And the Chargers ran into this situation last year with both Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. They decided to tinker with their contracts to bring those players back. It was the first year under Jim Harbaugh. Probably wanted to see what the team was able to do and what that team was able to look like in 2024. But as the Chargers move forward, it makes sense to move off of both Khalil Mack, who's going to be a free agent, in addition to Joey Bosa. And in the process, it opens up a boatload of cap space for Los Angeles. And so last offseason, we were having a similar conversation that if Bosa were to get released or if he were to get traded, which the Niners weren't going to do that because of the price tag, was there a possibility that he was going to sign with the Niners to team him up with his brother Nick? And now modern day, you think about this Niners team, 6-11, coming off a bad year in which they entered 2024 as Super Bowl favorites. They lost in heartbreaking fashion to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and they were never able to find their mojo during the 2024 campaign. And they had a lot of marquee players making top dollar who did not play a lot, who were injured, and the production wasn't good enough for the price tag. And the Niners are now in a situation where they're thinking about what has transpired over the last few years, and they've kind of been bullied by some of their own players and their agents in giving out contract extensions during these contract negotiations, which at times have gotten hostile. The Deebo Samuel contract extension didn't work out. He had the first team All-Pro season in 2021, which was a one-of-one, special, unique year for him, with him putting the offense on his back and nearly carrying them as a wide receiver wide back to the Super Bowl. You don't often see that a lot, right? Like even last year when Christian McCaffrey was the NFL Offensive Player of the Year, he had more than 2,000 all-purpose yards. That team was still stacked. This year with the Philadelphia Eagles, you kind of saw Saquon Barkley have a very similar season to Deebo as far as the individual impact. When you think about MVP conversations, you take that player away from that team, what do they look like, right? You take Deebo Samuel away from that 2021 Niners team, they may have not made the playoffs after having to overcome that 3-5 start. They definitely would not have made it to the NFC Championship game. Remember, their playoff fate came down to the final week of the regular season. They were down 17-0 against the Rams before they came back, and who helped them lead the charge? It was Deebo Samuel. But since that 2021 season, he just never lived up to making about $25 million per year. So that was one contract negotiation that probably didn't go the Niners' way. And then in 2024, he was out of shape, had a career worst year, and they traded him for a 5th-round pick. Not great value back. But that's what happens when your player that you're trading away is coming off a career worst season, right? Following off season, Nick Bosa. The Niners signed him to a record-breaking contract. $34 million. At the time, highest in the history of the NFL for a non-quarterback. And that just got overtaken by Justin Jefferson last offseason. And then Nick Bosa was still the highest paid defensive player in the history of the NFL until Max Crosby signed his deal today with the Raiders, $35.5 million per year. Now the Raiders will win 6 games. But Nick Bosa, while he's played really good ball, probably hasn't been $34 million per year worthy after he won Defensive Player of the Year with that 18.5 sack season. Right? And then with Brandon Ayuk, like with Nick Bosa, the contract negotiations last forever. For Bosa, he didn't sign that deal until the Wednesday before the season opener. He did play in week 1, but it took him a little while to get going, and he ended up having 10.5 sacks, which was a solid year. But that was after he had 15.5, 18.5. Then you pay him $34 million per year. In the last 2 years, he's gone 10.5 sacks, 9 sacks. Probably would have reached double digits if he didn't get hurt this season, played 14 games with those 9 sacks. And he has made it to 4 straight Pro Bowls going into his age 28 season, and that's 5 Pro Bowl seasons in 6 years for him. But $34 million per year, Niners probably didn't like getting back into a corner with those contract negotiations. And now they're coming off the heels of what happened with Brandon Ayuk. They gave him $30 million per year. He played 7 games. He looked awful outside of the Arizona game. And now he's coming off a shredded knee. You don't know what he's going to look like. Niners were not happy with how he handled those contract negotiations. And now they're in a spot where they want to get younger. They want to shed some salary. They want to replenish the cupboard as far as youth talent. They want to manage the salary cap a little bit more. They've already traded Debo away. They're thinking about trading Brandon Ayuk. They're offering, according to reports, Brock Purdy $45 million per year. And what's the theme here? They want to get younger, and they want to get youth talent that is cost-controlled to bring in cost-controlled assets to reset the salary cap a little bit. Well, the issue with signing Joey Bosa is that he's an older player who's 29, who has been highly compensated, will not be that compensated with the next team that he signs with, but he's an older rundown player whose production has not been good of late. And so I just don't see how it makes sense for the Niners to sign Joey unless it's for not quite a vet min, but at a low rate. And he's made a ton of money in his career, has Joey. And it would be a cool story for Joey to team up with Nick. No doubt about it. Momma Bosa has advocated for wanting her sons to play on the same team together. Nick Bosa has talked openly about it. Joey has discussed it as well. But the issue is, again, John Lynch said it multiple times last week when I was right in front of him at the Combine in Indy. We want to get younger. We need to bring in some youth talent. We need to hit on this draft like we hit on the 2024 draft. They want to get healthier, too. Since Kyle Shanahan was hired, they've been top 10 in injury rate every year except for 2023. And that year, they should have won the Super Bowl. They choked it away. And so Joey Bosa, while they need edge help, he doesn't help you get younger, and he doesn't help you get healthier. Over the last 4 years, starting in 2024, going backward, he has played in 14 games, 9 games, 5 games. Before that, 16, 12, 16, and before that, 7, 16, 12. Now, to start his career, got off to a really good start after he was such a high pick by the San Diego Chargers at the time. He was the last player on this Los Angeles Chargers team to still have played with the San Diego Chargers. Taken 3rd overall, 2016 draft out of Ohio State. Nick Bosa drafted 2nd overall after Kyler Murray in the 2019 NFL draft. But to start his career, he was really good. Defensive Rookie of the Year. He had 10.5 sacks year 1, 12.5 sacks year 2, 5.5 sacks year 3, only played 7 games. 11.5 sacks in 2019, played in 16 games. 7.5 sacks in 2020, played in 12 games. 10.5 sacks in 2021, 16 games. That is the last year that he played at least 16 games and the last year that he had double-digit sacks. We're about to embark on the 2025 season. So he hasn't stayed healthy in a long time. The production hasn't been that good in a long time. So there is just no chance that I am paying him even a decent salary. If he wants to come to the Niners, team up with Nick, live out their dream of the Bosa brothers playing with one another, and he wants to do it for a low price, knowing that the Niners need some edge help. And if that happens and he stays healthy, has good production, and you get a bargain, I'm all for it. But if he's looking for $15+ million per season, just not doing it. 1 year 10, I'm in. Multi-year deal worth 15 per, simply not doing it. And yet, he was a Pro Bowler in 2024, but he only had those 5 sacks. He started 9 games. He played in 14, and he was still banged up. And I'm just not sure if he's even in his prime any longer. His Pro Football Focus grades, overall grade of 63.9 this year. That was 90th among 211 edge rushers. Pass rushing grade of 64.1, 86th. Run defense grade of 73.7. That's 19th. So he would help you as an edge rusher against the run, something that the Niners need to do a better job of under Robert Saleh. He had 34 pressures on 315 pass rush snaps. Those 34 pressures ranking 53rd. He had 10 quarterback hits. That was 19th. He had 19 hurries. That was 65th. 17 stops, 65th. 2 forced fumbles, that was 8th. So, not a bad season by any means, but not a good season at that salary for the Chargers. Let's look at his 2023 numbers. He played in 9 games, 6.5 sacks. The other thing I worry about, too, a lot of his injuries are like foot issues. I don't like foot issues for a guy who's 6'5", 280. That's another problem that I have. In 2023, even though he missed some time, numbers were still pretty good. Overall grade of 78.4, that was 34th. Pass rush grade, 80.3, 21st. Run defense grade, 70.7, that was 45th. And in 315 pass rush snaps, almost the same number, 2023, 2024, despite playing much fewer games, still had 34 pressures, 10 hits, 19 hurries. But can you bank on him being able to stay healthy? That's really the problem. And I just can't see how the Niners would be interested, knowing the injury history that he has, if he's asking for a decent amount of money. And I'm telling you this right now. There are teams, especially after watching how the Eagles just picked apart the Chiefs with their defensive front and defensive effort, that will be willing to take a chance on Joey Bosa and give him more money. But will Joey Bosa strictly sign with the Niners at a cheaper price just because he wants to play with his brother Nick? I know Nick's going to pull for it. I know Momma Bosa is going to pull for it. I know Joey's going to be interested in it. But it all comes down to the price tag. Because the injury problems, if you're paying him a lot of money, scare the crap out of me. Because it just doesn't fit the timeline of what the Niners are looking for, which is to get younger and the shed salary. And that's just coming from the words of the general manager who makes these decisions in John Lynch. And I think the Niners are in a situation where they've had to look themselves in the mirror. Jed York, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch saying, we don't like how the last few years have gone. We're going to be a little bit stiffer with these contract negotiations. We want to shed salary after being one of the highest spending teams in the NFL the last few years, and we need to get younger. And they do need to get younger because they've been an increasingly older team that has been very expensive. It's not a good combination. And them going all in hasn't resulted in the Super Bowl championship. So now they're kind of hitting that reset button. And I don't know how Joey Bosa fits the reset button. Now, at the same time, I'm not sure how hiring Robert Saleh fits the reset kind of timeline because he might be gone in a year. But they could be banking on better coaching, leading to better results, and maximizing players who are more cost-controlled assets, a term that I like to use here on the show. So, wanted to hop on the mic, talk about this. Could Joey Bosa sign with the Niners? It is definitely a possibility. But it all comes down to the price tag for me.